right, so you graduate from MIT. You spend some years working, playing blackjack, but eventually you end up going to Harvard.
Right.
What led to that decision?
Well, I don't think my parents were too happy when I quit my job and just started being a gambler. But, I really was trying to just figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I decided that just being a regular electrical engineer really wasn't, exciting enough. And I wanted to do something for society, and I had always thought about going to law school, and so, I just decided, actually I had moved out to Vegas, and the day I was moved out here, I decided I was going to apply to law school. But I only applied to 3 law schools. I was gambling. I figured if I would get into one of the top 3 law schools, then I would go, or I'd think about going, and otherwise, maybe I shouldn't be a lawyer.
Okay.
So I applied to Harvard, Yale, and Stanford. And Yale rejected me. No, Stanford rejected me. Yale waitlisted it and then rejected me. And Harvard waitlisted me, but then let me in.
Right.
So somehow I snuck through. The MIT blackjack, a professional gambler, snuck through and got into MIT.
Well,
and I got into Harvard and got to go.
Yeah, you used your blackjack money to pay your way through law school, right?
Right. Through law school, I was still playing on the MIT blackjack team because it was the kind of thing that you didn't have to do 24 hours a day. It was, on weekends, on vacations, things like that. Our biggest trips were usually New Year's and Super Bowl weekend, and that didn't conflict at all with law school, or not too much.
Well, tell me what a normal day was like for Andy Bloch, the blackjack player, law student.
Well, a blackjack player, when we're not playing blackjack, you're sleeping, you're doing whatever, and then a couple times a week we'd get together and meet and practice, and train new players and things like that. And if you're gambling, and then once every couple of weeks you'd get on a plane. It was just like in the movie. You'd get on a plane, we'd fly to Vegas. You get to Vegas, you're landing in there, and you see all the same thing that everybody else that goes to Vegas sees.
I so want to do that.
When you fly into Vegas and you see all the lights and everything. But it's a great feeling when you're there and you're knowing that you're going to take the casino's money.
Of course.
And then you play all night. You get done. You walk outside and the sun would hit you. Just kind of like that scene in 21 when he walks out of the Hard Rock and like he's squinting, and then all of a sudden he takes a couple more steps and he smiles and he's like, yeah, we just beat the casino.
Sweet.
And then you do that a couple of nights, and then you take Sunday night, you take the red eye back to Boston, and you'd wake up and then go to some people were still in school, but most people had regular jobs or were just had quit their jobs. And
all right, in 1997, you skip your last week of classes. You play in the World Series of Poker, where you're a guinea pig for a whole card cam trial. Now, how'd you get involved with that?
Yeah, well, I had a good friend, Tom Sims, from early on in my rec.gambling days, and he lived in Vegas, and he was probably one of the original poker reporters, and he did it for free, just for love of the game.
Yeah.
And he did it that year, and I think the year before or the year after, and recorded like every hand at the final table. And he decided that it would be really cool to find a player that he could follow and record every hand they played in the main event. And he was looking for somebody, and I told him, I'm not sure if I'm going to play. I'm supposed to be back in law school to go to my last week of classes, but if I do play and you don't find anybody else, you can follow me. And I ended up deciding to buy in and play the event, and he followed me and recorded every hand for the first day and through the middle of the second day until a couple of players complained.
Oh, they complained?
And then then he recorded all the action, but he couldn't. They wouldn't let him record my hands. So and then this ended up becoming a 2-part article in Card Player magazine, where after Tom had recorded all my hands, he gave me all the hands, and I actually wrote more comments to it. I guess it's something like Gus Hansen did in his recent book, very similar to that, except this was done before there were whole card cams, before anyone thought that people would be interested in that, and it's still available online. You can go search for the Andy Bloch Project. I did not name it.
Yeah, you did. But at the time, I bet, did you even realize that you were going to be part of something that would eventually help revolutionize poker?
Yeah, I didn't really think about it too much at the time. That this would be commonplace. Maybe not a human looking at your whole card cams, but they would use cameras and how how important that was to the growth of the game.
Yeah. Well, 2 years later, you passed the bar, but you opted to postpone your law career in order to keep playing poker and blackjack. Was that a tough decision?
Well, after I took the bar, after I graduated law school, I wasn't going to take the bar, and I just decided to. I mean, my parents were like disappointed that I wasn't going to become a lawyer after all that time, even though I had paid my own tuition.
Yeah.
But I decided to go ahead and take the bar, but I was still playing blackjack, and the MIT team, my involvement ended. I decided I'd play through the end of 1999 into 2000, and then I was thinking about getting a law-related job, but I didn't want to be a regular lawyer, and fortunately I didn't have law school debt that I had to go and pay off.
Sure.
So I just started going back on the poker circuit, and I think I moved to Washington D.C. to help my sister out, who had just had a baby and just had a daughter, and and also I told myself, or told other people that I'd look for a law-related job there, and I think I made 1 or 2 phone calls and an email or 2, and that was about it in my job search.
Do you ever miss that? Do you want to ever do anything like that?
Well, I do practice law as a hobby. Okay. Only defending myself, though. So I've been arrested 5 times. 4 of them were blackjack related, and then the 5th one, actually, I was arrested at an anti-war protest in Washington D.C.
Wow.
And we got convicted, and we're faced with a $50 fine. But I decided to appeal it anyway out of principle, and I won my appeal actually in front of the Washington D.C. Court of Appeals, which is the equivalent of the state Supreme Court.
Wow.
So I won my case, and now I actually have you can look it up, and there's some precedent.
All right.
Bloch versus the District of Columbia.
What's been your most proud moment in poker, if you have to choose?
Right now, my most proud moment in poker would have to be my heads-up match with Chip Reese. And, even though I didn't win, I put myself in position to win, and I really felt I handled the whole, I'm proud of the way that I stuck with it. And I didn't after losing, 1 or 2 heads-up coin flips, I didn't go on tilt, and
never gave up.
Never really gave up, and even until the last hand.
All right. How important is it for you to win a bracelet?
Well, it's more important for the people that always say I'm one of the best players not to win a bracelet. For me to win a bracelet. For myself, I wouldn't mind a few big seconds.
Yeah.
But I mean, my goal is to try to win the bracelet in the first event, or the second event, but the first open event at the World Series this year. Last year I came pretty close in the 10K pot limit, and had a chance to win it again if I won. There was one hand where I had both my opponents all in.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the best hand, so.
Throughout your career, you've given countless dollars to charity. You actually donate 100% of your full tilt winnings, right?
Right.
Why do that?
Well, when I play on full tilt, at the low limits especially, I'm not playing there to try and crush my opponents.
Yeah.
Playing there as a representative of full tilt, give the people a chance to actually not just play with the pro, but learn from the pro as they're playing with them.
Yeah.
So, I feel like the money that I win in that kind of situation, especially people are coming to play with me in possibly a game they have no experience in. Like, I'll go sit on my horse table at full tilt, and people will sit down just to have a chance to learn the game and to play with me. And so I think that money should go to charity.
You do a lot for charity, though. I just saw you on Celebrity Apprentice with Annie,
right,
giving money for Refugees
International.
Right.
Yeah, Annie Duke was on Celebrity Apprentice, and she called up some people, and I actually was a little bit proactive. I told Annie, like, hey, if you need somebody to fly there, I'm free. I can jump on a plane and fly, take the red eye and get there 24 hours or less. And so I went down there twice, actually. Once for